Hello, everybody. I am going live today to discuss as I think I'm showing my stuff on the screen like I've been practicing on, but we're going to talk about Tennessee's conflicting gun laws today. I believe the reason why first of all, let me back up a little bit. Y'all know how I be rolling over here. I'm just winging it. This is nothing rehearsed or staged, or this ain't sponsored. So y'all just be getting some raw conversation, okay? Um, what I was gonna say. Okay, so with Tennessee's gun laws, first of all, my name is April Burns Norris, also known as the People's Advocate. I'm the executive director of Community Bridges Incorporated Tennessee, which is a nonprofit organization that was created to address the systemic gaps and barriers in the system that um, leave some of our most vulnerable citizens without basic needs being met, and a lot of their constitutional and human rights, civil rights are being violated, and nobody seems to pay attention to how when the laws that have been created are allowing them to treat people with disabilities like they're second class citizens or worse. Um, and so today's topic relating to people with disabilities is going to be how Tennessee's gun laws are discriminating against people with disabilities. I am a person with a disability, so when I speak to you all about these topics relating to people with disabilities, I'm speaking from a personal and a professional perspective. Um, Give me just a second. So, to get started, instead of just winging it like I normally do, like the whole way through, this time I tried to create like a little slideshow to kind of like show y'all what I'm talking about, and how this is written into the policies and procedures. So, and then we wonder why we continue to be oppressed. It's because the laws are set up to keep us oppressed. So let me turn this off because see, now it's gonna be a problem. I'll do that. Okay. Now, so as y'all see on the little screen, it says it's Tennessee's conflicting gun laws. And of course it's giving my name and the organization and everything. So I'm gonna start off by trying to pinpoint, and I'm gonna play around with I'll probably put this up a little bigger so that we can actually see it because I ain't got my glasses on. Well, we don't want to use that one because I can't see. Y'all bear with me. Okay. So the reason why I even brought this up is because I saw on some online news channel, I guess, station or whatever. They was talking about something that had some little boy in, I think, Memphis, that had got killed by a stray bullet or something on Christmas Day or Christmas, somewhere around Christmas time. And then they were saying how he had, while he was at school before, you know, obviously before he got killed, he had wrote a letter to Governor Bill Lee talking about how we that the permitless carry laws were basically putting their lives in danger. And I've been hearing so many people go back and forth about how Governor Bill Lee just done gave everybody the right to have a gun in Tennessee. And I'm like, why y'all playing like that? First of all, If that's what y'all think that new gun law says, y'all gonna be up Poops Creek without a paddle, because that is not what this new gun law is saying. Actually, it's totally saying the opposite, and it even enhances the penalties for even stealing a gun or having one illegally. That's the part right there. If you got a gun illegally, you still ain't you're not allowed to have it, regardless of it being called a permitless carry. If you cannot go and pass a federal background check, you can't own a gun. You can't own a gun, nor can you carry one out in public if you can't pass a federal background check. Okay? So, for all the people thinking that, oh, that's just letting all the criminals in the streets have guns and anybody can have a gun, nobody have to pass it, that's a whole lie. That's a whole lie. Okay. Now, the issue that I feel like people should be focusing on is what type of things that are included in the gun law um, is targeting certain groups of people. If it is, you got to pay attention to those things, not so much of the title that they gave that law. I mean, read what's in it. Okay, so we know that if you can't pass a federal background check, you can't buy a gun. Therefore, you can't have a gun on you. So and most of the people that are committing the crimes can't pass a federal background check. So they're already carrying illegally. What this gun law does is enhances the penalties for when they get caught. It makes it harder for them because of them carrying illegally. Um, there's certain places that, regardless of if you got a permit or not, you still can't carry that. You can't carry the gun in certain places, such as they got a list here. I didn't upload this list, but that's stuff you can Google. But you can't take no gun to the courts, to the schools. You know, let me see. If you drinking, you ain't. I mean, you can't. If you get pulled over and you got alcohol on your breath, it don't matter if you was able to purchase the gun or not. You ain't allowed to have it without no permit, or you ain't allowed to have it at all if you got alcohol on you. So don't do that. But anyway, there's places that you should know that you can't carry. Period. And so for the permitless carry, what changed? And I'm reading off of something I printed off offline. It says historically, a firearm could only be carried on one's person if they met one of several defenses found in section 39, 17, 1308, primarily the possession of a handgun carry permit. On July 1st, 2021, Tennessee law would permit a large majority of citizens to carry a loaded handgun on their person without first having to obtain a permit. This law does not affect the carrying of rifles or shotguns. It says Chapter 108 makes several changes to Tennessee Code relative to firearms, with the primary modification being to the statute on unlawful possession of a weapon. See, this is where most of the attention was focused, is how to handle somebody that's unlawfully possessing a weapon. The legislator added a new subsection G, which makes it an exception to the general prohibition on carrying a firearm with the intent to go armed, that the person was, of course, 21 years of age, and lawful possession of the handgun, can't be stolen, can't be having it somewhere where it's prohibited. not prohibited from possessing a handgun under the remainder of the unlawful possession of a weapon statute, which includes, here's all the things that can prohibit you: being convicted of a felony, a fugitive from justice, unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance as defined by 21 USC 802, adjudicated as a mental defective, or who has been judicially committed to or hospitalized in a mental institution, or had a court appoint a conservator for the person by reason of mental defect, an alien as defined in 8 USC 1101 A3, illegally or unlawfully in the United States, admitted to the United States under a non-immigrant visa, dishonorably discharged from the armed forces, having renounced their U.S. citizenship. So all those what you call them sovereign citizen people, uh subject to an order of protection. That's gonna that's gonna take half of the folks off of the they can't even get none because they be in the middle of all this baby mama and baby daddy drama and stuff. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it says subject to an order of protection. It ain't got to be baby related. It could just be relationship related and other shit too. Anyway, so they say intimate partners only, spouse, former spouse, parent of a child of the person, and an individual who cohabitates or has cohabitated with the person. Um, no ex parte, must be a full order of protection that like has went through the court and you went and appeared and so forth and so on. Convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence. Only the following relationships qualify: current or former spouse, parent, guardian, person with whom the victim shares a child in common, a person who is cohabitating with or has cohabitated with the victim as a spouse, parent or guardian, or by a person similarly situated to a spouse, parent, or guardian of the victim. If you have been convicted of stalking as prohibited by Section 39, 17, 315, has been convicted of the offense of DUI in this or any other state, one time in the last 5 years or two times or more in the last 10 years, prohibited from possessing a firearm under any other state or federal law, in a place where they are lawfully present, they are not trespassing. I don't know if that's supposed to, did that get out of the order it was supposed to be in. But anyways, it says if each of these requirements is met, then the person can carry a handgun without first obtaining a carry permit. As noted above, there are some locations where permitless carry is not permitted: primary schools, parks, and posted buildings. Um, this document here goes more in detail about how they can, when can, like if you get stopped by the police and you're carrying, what they're supposed to do, as far as the Terry stops and so forth and so on. Um, but it says right here in bold, also important to keep in mind is that persons who are utilizing permitless carry are not required to present any identification or proof that they can lawfully possess a firearm, nor can they be required to submit to questioning. Um, it says for years, the Tennessee handgun carry permit laws require someone carrying a firearm to display a copy of their permit upon demand of a law enforcement officer. There is no such requirement to identify oneself when utilizing permitless carry. Um, It says persons relying upon the new permitless carry provision may also store the handgun in their vehicle in accordance with Section 39, 17, 13, 13, which formerly only applied to persons with either an enhanced or concealed handgun carry permit. Like I said, this information is just going over the difference of what the permitless carry law was in response to what the normal regulations were to get the handgun carry permit. The part that this is a good document here too. I may upload that later because it's even going into how when they respond to armed individuals, they're supposed to do. I may post that up somewhere. It's even got the permitless carry training for dispatcher and emergency communications. So like when you call the cops. But back to the requirements for Tennessee. Now, this video is just for me to speak on the state of Tennessee. I don't know. It will be why. I mean, like if I were y'all, if I live in another state, I would check to see what my own state's regulations are for getting the permit. But the one thing that I noticed that stood out that's different from being able to pass a federal background check to be able to purchase your gun compared to being able to get a permit to carry your gun in the state of Tennessee is this part. Now, everything else, you can't have a felony, can't be a fugitive. Everything's pretty much the same, except, let's go to the next slide. This section right here, not receiving Social Security disability benefits by reason of alcohol dependence, drug dependence, or mental disability. How is it that just based off of the fact that somebody receives Social Security disability for their mental disability, because you see it says or mental disability. I've received Social Security disability. And so you telling me I ain't got no background of history of violence. I ain't got no criminal record. I ain't never did. And I'm not supposed to be able to protect myself just because the state of Tennessee goes above and beyond what the federal law says. And they add that in there that just because my source of income, my primary source of income, is Social Security disability, so I can't get no gun permit. That's what they said. That's right. It's the state. See them little stars? This is Tennessee stuff. Now, let's go on a little bit. Let's talk about, the federal statutes about firearms for people with mental illnesses. It is unlawful to have a gun or to buy a gun or anything if you have been adjudicated as a mental defective. It says right here, the following are eligibility requirements of obtaining a handgun carry permit, and the application shall require the applicant to disclose and conform compliance with under oath the following information concerning the applicant and the eligibility requirements: that the applicant has not been adjudicated as mental defective, has not been judicially committed to or hospitalized in a mental institution, has not had a court appoint a conservator for the applicant by reason of mental illness, developmental disability, or other mental incapacity that has not, within 7 years from the date of application, been found by a court to pose an immediate substantial likelihood of serious harm. Okay. This is to be able to purchase a firearm, because it's basically they going by the federal law as far as purchasing. The issue comes in is with the permit. And even when they start trying to focus in on trying to make it look like people with disabilities are a danger to society just by being disabled, you know, um, there's been research already done to show that's not true. And even the way the federal laws are set up, I think they're saying like the state of Tennessee is supposed to um share. It says Tennessee law requires submission of mental health records to NICS, the state court, the state circuit courts, criminal courts, and general sessions courts. All the courts that have made the orders and adjudications listed above must report this fact to NICS and the Tennessee Department of Safety. And it's saying how much all of the stuff they're supposed to include. Tennessee law requires clerks of courts to confirm with the administrative office of the court when these reports are made to NICS. This is the thing. Now, they are required to report when they have been hospitalized or court ordered to go. However, the trick, it says Tennessee law also establishes procedures for an individual prohibited from possessing firearms under federal law for mental health reasons to petition for relief from the federal prohibition. A person who is subject to federal law's mental health related firearm prohibition may petition the court that entered the commitment or adjudication order once 3 years have elapsed from the person's date of release from commitment or the date of the adjudication order. So if you got enough of money to go and file something with the court, and you got a good enough relationship with the court, which most of us don't have, people look like me, you can go and apply for a waiver. But that don't address if you receive Social Security disability. You don't get a waiver. They don't have a Social Security disability waiver, but they got a waiver to overlook the fact that you've already been adjudicated as a threat to society. And so, I'm not saying they shouldn't have a waiver. I'm saying they should also have a waiver for people that receive Social Security disability, especially when they have no record of these people being violent or having a history of violence. This is my opinion. If they can make it to where someone, and this is how these people are that have a history of mental health disorders and ones that go and shoot up everything, and they be like, well, we knew he had some problems, but how did he get the gun? Because of stuff like this. But then you want to make it to where someone like me that has never done anything wrong, hasn't, I might talk a little crap here and yonder, but I ain't hurting nobody. I can't get a permit. I can't. And so, in my opinion, when Bill Lee made it permitless carry, that was his way of avoiding addressing how the eligibility requirement to get the permits are discriminating against people with disabilities based on their source of income. I guarantee you, while they over whining about how much revenue they lost from the permits, if they knew how much they would risk losing for getting sued, they wouldn't be complaining, y'all. They wouldn't be complaining but see, a lot of people are not even aware that the reason why they can't get a gun permit or they got denied or whatever is because they received Social Security disability. Ain't never heard of aunt. Ain't never been to jail, but can't get a gun permit to protect herself. And there's studies showing that people with disabilities are more likely to be a victim of a crime than for them to be out committing the crimes. So, like, what? Because we get Social Security disability, we don't need to be able to protect ourselves? That's what you're saying? That's what they're saying, because that's the mindset that the state of Tennessee has had about people with disabilities for years. This is well, I'm not going to go into the details about all that because we're going to keep it focused on what the topic is, which is how they are discriminating based on the source of income. So I'm just showing in here where the what is it? Let me see if I can blow it up a little bit. It's just showing for the different courts and stuff about the relief from firearm disabilities imposed on persons adjudicated as mental defective or judicially committed to mental institutions. It's just showing how they do it in all the separate courts, Chancery Court, in domestic situations, if there's domestic abuse or in your marriages. This is all in there. I'm gonna leave. And so basically, that's basically what it is. My whole argument is this: they shouldn't. I got it wrote down. I'm gonna show you what my whole argument is. The detailed analysis. Conflict number 1: having a source of income such as SSI or SSDI for mentally ill adults with no history of violence or a judicially ordered hospitalization should not be the sole cause of being unable to obtain a gun permit in Tennessee. That's discrimination. It's bad enough they discriminate in housing. You know, you can't use a Section 8 voucher everywhere. If we could get some reparations, or we could get paid for the stuff that they done, man, look, if they cut the check on some of the things that they owe me, some of the losses, the pending judgments in these courts that they owe me, I won't need the Social Security disability. Go on and tap out in federal court because you know you're wrong. I won't need Social Security disability. Then I can get me a permit. But I don't need people out here saying that this permitless carry bill allows everybody to have a gun, and that's why more people going. That's a whole lie. The people out here committing the crimes are the same people that was committing the crimes before the permitless carry bill came out, and we need to stop that. You know, read about what you're talking about before you start making a. And then what really made it sad was how they used that little boy's death to trigger people and to get their emotions going. That, I guarantee you, whoever shot that little boy was not a legal gun owner. He did not purchase that gun. He did not pass the federal background check to get that gun 9 times out of 10. Because most people that don't have no criminal record, they ain't trying to get one. Unless somebody forced them to, you know what I'm saying? So it should not be the sole cause of being unable to obtain a gun permit. The conflict number 2 is, like I was just saying, the public concern should be focused on making it more difficult for people with mental illnesses to obtain judicial waivers in spite of having a documented history of violence or being judicially ordered to be hospitalized for mental health treatment. Let's focus on that. Like, why y'all giving out all them waivers? That's what you shouldn't be doing. Not making it hard for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. I mean, like, people with disabilities have just as much right as anybody else to defend their lives. And I just had to put this out here. I done showed y'all where it said the source of income, Social Security disability for your mental illness. You can't get no carry permit. Nothing about, if you have, like, on the DUIs, they say if you got so many in 1 in 5 years or 2 in 10 years, ain't nothing about that on Social Security disability. It's just blanket. If you get Social Security disability, you can't get no permit. That's what state of Tennessee talking about. But they the same ones that said the people at Arlington Development Center, they didn't have the state didn't have the duty to even feed them because their parents had willingly admitted them into the facility. That's what the state of Tennessee said is. Hey, Arlington Developmental Center. Look it up. The United States versus the state of Tennessee. Okay, and so the lesson 1, just because someone who suffers from a mental illness is considered low income, it does not mean they are supposed to be denied their constitutional rights, human rights, and civil rights. I should have added point blank period. And then lesson 2. Research shows that people with disabilities, including mental illness, are more likely to be victims of violence and need to be able to protect themselves just like any other law-abiding citizen, regardless of their source of income. Period. That's just that on that. And so here we go again. Justice by any legal means necessary. I feel like if we don't speak up about these things, they're not going to speak up about it. We got to start putting pressure. Legally, we have a right to say something. We have a right to bring this to their attention. How this in there? How y'all letting that be the case when clearly that's discrimination? Is we cool with that? I'm not. So anyway, that's all. I was just coming over here to kind of get this documented so that it's available. People can't say they ain't hear it. People can't say they don't know. Share this information with others because, like, you know, if you don't know, I mean, you can't blame yourself if you don't know. But when you know better, you're supposed to do better. And then you at least know why you can speak up about something. If y'all know some local politicians that would like to make this an issue, these are campaign topics, in my opinion. You know, because it's a lot of disability discrimination going on in a lot of these programs that people are not paying attention to. That's what I'm here to do, is to put it out there. I'm not trying to cause no problems. I just want them to clear this stuff up. If we don't talk about it, how are we going to fix it? That's where I'm at. I know it be seeming like I'm coming for people's throats. I'm just tired of repeating myself, and they ignoring this. And the most vulnerable people that they claiming to be helping, they hurting these people in everything they do. And then when you try to point it out, they get mad about you pointing it out. Well, here we go. Well, but with that being said, y'all, I'm getting on up out of here. I just wanted to put that information out there for y'all so y'all won't be getting caught slipping. They make it sound like, oh, it's free for all. Everybody can carry. No, you can't. And if they catch you slipping, you're going to get extra penalties that you wasn't getting before. They've enhanced that part. They made that shit confusing for a reason. Y'all don't get caught slipping like that. If you able to get your permit, go on and get it anyway. But for people like myself who are denied that right, that's why we need to advocate on stuff like that. Speak up. We shouldn't be being denied just based off of a source of income. Show me where I've disqualified myself based off of my actions. Don't penalize me just because. And that's what they're doing. But anyway, I love y'all. With love, light, and life lessons learned the hard way. This is Lady May, Queen Aries, the People's Advocate. I guess the next time we'll probably talk more about some other policies that are discriminating, because we really have to understand that a lot of us are suffering from some sort of a mental illness or some type of a whether it be low income or, you know, dealing with mental illness for yourself or someone in your family. Yeah, my daughter. If this information is necessary so that you know how to advocate for yourself and others. So with that being said, I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Peace.